I think part of it too, he was kind of elated.
He's not going to change. He'll die before he changes.
Yeah, well, he was elated, I think, because he did win in New Hampshire. Now he won. He beat Nikki. So it
I
was
think they call it that.
yeah. DeSantis dropped out and then endorsed Trump. DeSantis, he's just a weird guy. But yeah, so DeSantis is kind of out of it. Um,
I mean, I'm not real surprised.
yeah, he didn't really have a prayer at this point. He wasn't going to win New Hampshire, and things were looking really bad in South Carolina. Anyway, so
Yeah.
Nikki Haley's still in it. Trump beat her 55% to 43. Now, 55% is high, except for the fact that I can't even remember the last time there was a New Hampshire Republican primary where there were only two people. It's usually like 7 or 8.
Yeah, usually there's all sorts of people.
So with just two people, 55% really isn't that much, which means she got almost half, which is kind of also what happened in what was it, Iowa, because he only got half. And most of the Nikki Haley voters, when they polled them coming out, the vast majority of them said they were either not going to vote for Trump or were going to vote for Biden if Haley didn't win. So that's almost half the Republican Party, roughly. Like, let's say it's even a third.
Defecting,
Yeah.
basically.
So, and the Republican Party is really only about 30% of the actual voting populace, right? So if he's lost 10%, or a third of them, that's 20% of the Republicans. Well, Democrats are like 40%, and pretty much all of them are just automatically going to vote for Biden.
Mm-hmm.
So that means he's got to make up all the difference with the independents, and I don't know how he does that. But we're going to watch. So he spoke in New Hampshire, and his speeches have gotten really bad, where almost nobody's showing up. Right? It's just pathetic. And in New Hampshire, it looked like it was crowded, and then when they panned out, they saw all these empty seats, and then what they figured he was on a basketball court, and they put a big, kind of like sheet in the middle to make it look more contained. So it was only like half the court. So he had only a few hundred people there. He's not drawing the crowds anymore. And the speech was so bad, people were walking out while he was giving the speech. Watch this.
You know why? They looked at the polls and they decided we're not going to play there. So next week is Nevada, a great state, and DeSanctimonious just announced he's pulling out of Nevada.
A pretty empty crowd in Manchester, New Hampshire, where Donald Trump was giving a speech on Saturday.
Look at that.
I saw there people.
It was that is just pathetic. So yeah, he won New Hampshire, but it's not pulling the sex appeal that I think he was hoping it would. The other
Right, like that's why I was like, if you can call it a win, I mean,
yeah,
it technically is, but when you kind of dissect it, like he's not drawing the big crowd.
Mm-mm.
He's like, people are not rushing out in droves for him by any stretch of the imagination.
No, not at all. And the other thing that's really sad about this is that Nikki Haley's staying in, and we'll get into that here in a second, but part of it's because she's still got all the money, all the big donors are with her. So she's going to drag this out and try and siphon as much off of him as possible. Because I think Nikki Haley's planning, her thought is, I'm just going to drag this out as long as I can, keep those donors, and then I'm going to rerun in 28. And that'll be my year to actually take a stab at this. I hope she doesn't win. I don't really like Nikki Haley, but that's what I think her thought process is. On the other side of that coin, Biden also won in New Hampshire, okay? Which was interesting. And Biden won with like 60 or 70% of the Democratic vote. And even the people that voted against him, over 90% said, yeah, we're still going to vote for Biden anyway. Right? And I think it was, he was running, it was Marianne Williamson and whoever that other guy is, Dean Scott, I forget his name. He's like the rich guy. Anyway, they didn't do very well. But what was so embarrassing for them, and it's interesting because they're not getting any delegates, so it's kind of a pointless win in New Hampshire for a Democrat. So there's no point. Biden didn't even run. Didn't even put his name on the ballot. And yet he still got 70% of the vote. Why? Because people physically wrote his name in. So he's got his base locked up. And he's got, it looks like,
Wow.
half of Nikki Haley's voters locked up. So things are not looking super great for Trump. But Nikki Haley finally attacked Trump. And there's been some speculation about his mental state, because he's not making a lot of sense. I mean, he's never really made a ton of sense, but now he's getting things really messed up. So this is Brian Tyler Cohen, and he's going to cover this a little bit about Trump kind of seems to be mentally declining a little bit here.
Never reports the crowds, you know. By the way, they never report the crowd on January 6th. You know, Nikki Haley, you know, did you know they destroyed all of the information, all of the evidence, everything, deleted and destroyed all of it, because of lots of things. Like Nikki Haley is in charge of security. We offered her 10,000 people.
Hello and welcome to exhibit number 427,912 of Donald Trump's brain in a blender live on stage. Here,
He's right. So
Wow. I mean, that's it. I was sitting there scratching my head, being like, "What is he talking about?" Even
that's my point.
God, okay.
Is if you didn't follow politics super closely, nothing that he says makes sense. And even if you follow it really closely, it's still bullshit. And it doesn't make much sense.
We talk about this every single week. I follow it less closely than you do.
Right.
But we talk about this every single week. Therefore, I consider myself to be someone who doesn't follow it really closely, but more or less knows what's going on.
Right. So here,
in all fairness, and I have no idea what the hell he's talking about.
I know. So he said,
I should have been able to pick that stuff up.
So he said that he's running against Obama, that he beat Obama in an election. Neither one of those things happened, ever. He never ran against Obama. And frankly, if it was Obama, he'd be getting smoked right now. I mean,
oh gosh, people would be mopping the floor with his head.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, he just like now he just has the base. He just has the racists and the conspiracy nuts. But yeah, so he was doing that. And the Nikki Haley thing, this is what he was saying. He kept saying Nikki Haley, Nikki Haley, Nikki Haley, and you could tell he was confused, and this is why. He was trying to say that on January 6th, when the insurrection happened, that Nikki Haley was in charge of security for the House and the Senate. And he offered her 10,000 troops, and she refused him. Right? First off, Nikki Haley wasn't in office. He was thinking of Nancy Pelosi. Second of all, he never offered additional security to Nancy Pelosi. So all of it makes no sense. So he's
getting the wrong person,
the wrong situation,
and got the wrong situation, and even with the situation he's referring to, he has the details all wrong there too.
Absolutely, it's crazy. No, it's
still America. Do you want this man in charge of your country?
Yep.
He's not even sure who he's talking about.
Nope. I mean, and he's just been going.
Not good.
No, he's just been going off. So here was Nikki Haley. We'll skip ahead here. She finally said something, for the love of God. I mean, they have not attacked him. None of the Republicans have attacked him, which makes no sense. Finally, Nikki Haley did.
Last night, Trump is at a rally, and he's going on and on mentioning me multiple times as to why I didn't take security during the Capitol riots. Why I didn't handle January 6th better. I wasn't even in D.C. on January 6th. I wasn't in office then. They're saying he got confused, that he was talking about something else. He was talking about Nancy Pelosi. He mentioned me multiple times in that scenario. The concern I have is, I'm not saying anything derogatory, but when you're dealing with the pressures of a presidency, we can't have someone else that we question whether they're mentally fit to do this. We can't.
And of course, before anybody throws a parade because of Nikki Haley's newfound courage, we'll see if she...
Well, yeah, she's been kissing his ass this whole time, so she's no saint for doing that.
No, but the point is really, really true.
Yeah.
And she handled it in, I'm not pretending that I like her or whatever in particular, but she handled it in a way that doesn't feel dirty. Like she handled, she handled it well, I think.
Yeah.
And the point is valid. I just said the same point.
Yeah.
Do you want somebody as a president that is going to be literally confused about this stuff?
Well, that's the thing. Is it's like Biden's old, but at least he knows where he is. Trump had that whole thing where he was in Sioux City, and he kept calling it Sioux Falls. And then when he got off the stage, the guy said, "Well, no, you're actually in Sioux City." And then Trump's like, "Oh, okay." And then he got back on stage, and he just kept saying Sioux City over and over and over again, like he was, like nobody noticed that he was confused about where he was. You know, but I mean, it happens. I guess we're happy to be doing our show here in America. It's like,
America,
yeah,
America, America, America.
Yeah, you're talking about a guy who thinks George Washington invaded airports during this Revolutionary War. I mean, he is fucking gone. Oh man, he's got nothing.
Listen, people's mental faculties do start to, slip away from them. And if that's really what's happening there, you cannot have somebody running your country if their mental faculties are literally slipping away from them.
Yeah. Well, and I think, his father had dementia. Plus, he had a bunch of sores on his hand earlier this week that people noticed. And there was some speculation that maybe he has syphilis. And that might be why he's mentally declining so rapidly. I think he's also doing just a shit ton of Adderall. So he's probably stoned half the time. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it all plays out for him. In the meantime, Nikki Haley is staying in it. And kind of an interesting reason why you would stay in it. So she lost Iowa, she lost New Hampshire. She's probably going to lose South Carolina, which is funny because she was the governor of South Carolina, so that'll be embarrassing. But she's going to stay in it anyway. And here's Joy Reid from the readout, and she's going to cover why Nikki Haley's staying in. I think this is fascinating.
If you are an American oligarch with tons of cash to burn and you've had it with Donald Trump, what would your dream candidate look like? It would probably be someone with governing experience who's already dependent on you for their lifestyle. Someone who sounds a lot like Nikki Haley, the Republican candidate who the Washington Post noted after leaving government in 2018 improved her financial position dramatically, making millions from private consulting, paid speeches, and spots on corporate boards. Because her hawkish pro-business policies speak for your issues if you're a billionaire, right? She's pro-drilling, pro-military industrial complex. She's also willing to sign a national abortion ban, but buries her position in a lot of mealy-mouthed answers about consensus. In other words, she's a normie right-wing blank slate for the donor class. Like the Charles Koch-backed super PAC that raised $70 million last year to stop Trump and has since endorsed and funded Nikki Haley.
So that's the beauty of Nikki Haley, is she's a millionaire simp for the billionaire class. She's somebody easy to pay off. These people are now backing her heavily. So she's got millions pouring in. Now, not as much. Her and Trump combined don't have nearly as much as Biden. But she's still getting a lot of big money from these donors. So she's going to keep sucking as much money as she can into her PAC. And she's going to use some of that in 2028, and she's going to use some of that to siphon from Trump now. And that's probably why they're still giving her money, is they think, hey, maybe you can siphon enough votes here to prevent Trump from getting reelected. So it's worth it for us to give you $10 million, $100 million to prevent that. So she's got a good place here where she could actually be seriously, she could damage Trump. And that's why I think she started going on the attack, is because I think her donors are like, no, now's the time to go for the throat. You've been kissing his ass for too long. You want our money? You bring him down. And she's enough of a shill that she'll do whatever they tell her for the money.
Right.
So yeah, she's gonna stay in this as long as the money keeps flowing in. She's gonna keep. She might stay in this whole thing till fucking September for all we know.
You know what? Good for her. Like I said, I'm not pretending that I like her, but the siphoning off of him is pretty great.
Yeah,
so
even when she loses on Super Tuesday, she might go, "Well, I'm going to run as an independent just to keep getting that fucking sweet money coming in."